This is called Better Watch Out, and it is about a kid that has a hot babysitter, and there's a home invasion.
Yeah. Now,
And
is it on Shutter or Prime? I watch it on
oh,
Prime.
it's on a lot of different ones. So
Yeah,
it's on Shutter, and then when I was looking it up, it's on I think like at least 5 or 6
it's
different
findable. It's
sites.
very
Yeah,
findable. It's
yeah,
very findable. Yeah.
yeah. So it turns into a home invasion movie, but then it has a big spin to it. But it is also heavily inspired by Home Alone, and I can't really say like what the spin is on this movie that they do, but just think because it's going to ruin everything for you. But that's actually hard to kind of describe what the movie's about because it all revolves around this twist. Um,
But
but
just think, it is basically a riff on Home Alone,
absolutely,
and giving an R-rated spin on it.
think
Now, interestingly, by the way, I researched the movie a little bit. The guy who made it originally was going to shoot it in like Texas or whatever his hometown was
yeah,
for $500,000. He had somehow raised the money or had access to the capital and was going to film it for $500,000. But someone caught wind of the concept and offered him $3 million to make it in New Zealand.
nice,
So he actually made it in New
uh-huh.
Zealand for $3 million, which is a very weird budget range
Yeah,
for an independent horror because it's tough to make your money back at that range. But it is. I did read that he was set to make it and then got offered $3 million to make it in New Zealand. But it's like oddly, it's all American. You wouldn't know, but it's all filmed in New Zealand.
yeah, it's great. Well, one thing I will say is it is the opposite of endearing qualities for kids. Like in Home Alone, the kids like very likable. There are some kids in this movie that are not likable at all whatsoever. This little
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. This is my take on it because I watched it on your recommendation. I know you really enjoyed this. Now, let's just lay the groundwork here.
Mhm.
The age group of the kids in this film are about 13, and I do find 13-year-olds creepy.
Yeah.
And and I'll tell you why. 13-year-olds are creepy because they are big enough, strong enough, and smart enough to do some serious damage, but are also young enough where they don't understand the true consequences of their action, which make
Yeah.
them very scary. And I think of the French New Wave horror film They,
Yeah.
which did a great job of exploring this age group and the fact that they don't give a shit. And when I watch this, there's another version of this film which is even worse, which is even more like Patrick Bateman
Mhm.
for this 13-year-old, where he just goes literally bonkers, like
Yeah.
video game murdering,
Mhm.
and just slaughters everybody, and it gets a little more grotesque. I think because it is there is a lot of death in it. It's clearly R-rated, but they do shy away from actually showing too much, and which is fine. I mean, it's definitely a good film and it's worth it. But there is a version of this that's a little more over the top,
Mhm.
where this 13-year-old goes full video game, over the top Patrick Bateman, slaughter fest, and you get more stuff in there. Like there's more that could be happening in this. I do believe that the 13-year-old's going absolutely crazy. uh there's more room.
Yeah. And they can get away with it because they can act all innocent afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing that like kids can get away with because um, they are old enough to be mischievous and know enough and young enough that everybody still thinks that they're cute and innocent and they can get away with it.
Well, that's also why that they did a great job casting that guy, because well, he was very this cute little kid. There's no way this guy can do any wrong, but he also was able to play the other side as well. It shows the creepiness of a 13-year-old. But the thing about it is, I think that film was basically like they knew they were going to do that Home Alone scene.
Hmm. So
They
the scene
knew
that
for
we're
sure.
referring to,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say the scene we're referring to is, and it's been brought up many times before. It's like the paint can scene in Home Alone,
Yeah.
where he throws the paint can and it goes. It's Joe Pesci's face that it hits, right?
Yeah.
And
Either him or Stern. It's probably
was it
Pesci. Yeah.
Stern? I can't
I can't
remember.
remember. It's
I
one
can't
of the two.
remember.
We got a 50-50. It's
We
Pesci.
got a 50-50 chance.
Yeah.
But one of them hits it and he just gets a red mark on his face and he sits down and it's really Wile E. Coyote.
Hmm.
But it's been widely debated that would actually crush his face.
Yeah.
Like it would, it would absolutely destroy his face. And so this film explores that. And my bet actually is that the entire idea for this film was born out of that concept. Like someone was drunk sitting around talking about the fact is like this same Home Alone debate where that paint like talking about how Home Alone's essentially a horror film that turns it into a Wile E. Coyote cartoon.
Yeah.
Like the damage that actually would have done. And then all of a sudden you talk about that concept and the guy puts it in the script, and then all of a sudden you have a whole idea that's born out of this one scene. But
Yeah.
but it is that scene is in there, which is funny because I think I don't know I've thought about it before.
Yeah. But yeah, this is definitely like just think of like John Hughes if he got divorced or something and they got in a really dark mood and then decided to make a movie and piss off all the studios.
Yeah.
That's essentially what this is. So like a real like fringe version of John Hughes, or like a sort of like a darker parallel version of John Hughes, because it has dialogue that's kind of reminiscent of Weird Science and a lot of his other teen movies in it.
Yeah.
And it has the veneer of that sort of like a teenager or like a kind of like coming of age movie in there, but then it puts that horror spin on it. It's just a great combination. Then you have the Christmas theme in there as well too, which makes it even better.
Yeah. Oh no, there's lots of good stuff in it. I mean, it has there's a couple of things that can take away from it, like the girl never really seemed to be in danger. That was the one thing that kind of bugged me about it. I was like, she never really seems to be in danger in this whole film. But yeah, it was good, and it goes to show. I mean, I thought that was really cool that this guy came up with this concept, was going to do it for $500,000 and gets the $3 million to do it, because I think it's a cool. It goes to show what that kind of like, if you have a good idea, and I have no idea how the New Zealand guy found out about it to get to say, hey, no, come here and shoot it here. But clearly there's like ideas were rolling around, and it was a good enough idea that the other guy that they picked it up and he got a $3 million budget to make the film.
Yeah, absolutely. And it also reminds you of how family movies can be great inspiration for not only high concept but horror movies.
Yeah.
I mean, just think of how weird some family movies out there. I was watching Pinocchio the other day. That's sort of
No, it's a
essentially
weird movie.
that's sort of
Pinocchio's weird.
essentially a horror movie.
Yeah.
I mean, it's this puppet that was made through like weird kind of magic, and then he gets turned to life. And then so he's like this inanimate object that sort of becomes this creepy, almost human-like person, but isn't. And then he gets abducted by several people, and then he gets torn to an island where like kids are turned into donkeys, and
No,
then gets swallowed by a whale. It's just weird.
I don't know what comedian said it, but
Yeah.
but it was Geppetto's fucking that puppet. Like it's there's no way to split it. I mean, like if you watch that, he's clearly having sex with that puppet.
There is a horror movie called Pinocchio's Revenge, actually. So somebody's thought of everything.
It did. Pinocchio's had its rounds for sure.